Hi everyone, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to World of Tanks. And yeah, got bad news for you. I have sold out. For the first time in 10 years, Wargaming reached out to me and the other content creators to see if we wanted to create bundles inside Wargaming's premium store for World of Tanks. And yes, I decided on 3 different bundles that I approached as if I was purchasing them myself to try and get extreme value. Now, as many of you will know who watch my Twitch streams, you'll know that, yeah, I refuse to replace this chair. It works perfectly well. Might have had it for 13 years, might be showing a little bit of wear and tear, but it works. And as somebody who drives a 17-year-old Fiat Punto, even though I don't have to, you can tell I am definitely someone who wants to get the most value out of anything they purchase. And so that's how I approached creating these 3 bundles. What can I do to allow Wargaming to enable you to purchase things that otherwise you couldn't be able to get, like credit boosters or even tanks that aren't usually available? So I created 3 bundles. There's a small bundle which has 10 hours of credit boosters, costs just shy of £3 on the European server. That's something that you can't usually get in the store. I created a medium bundle which has a TS5 and also 10 hours of credit boosting, and Wargaming have priced this fairly competitively compared to the other premium tanks inside their store, where you're effectively getting the credit boosters for free. Now, why did I pick the TS5? I picked the TS5 because it is the most brutal Tier 8 premium tank that you will be able to get your hands on. It has one of the highest win ratios of any of the Tier 8 premium tanks, and it has by far the best win ratio of any of the Tier 8 tank destroyers in the game. And so accordingly, I wanted to pick a tank that I could recommend for anyone to be able to play, irrelevant of how good you are, to go in with one goal, and that is to farm as many credits as possible. Because I guess that's why you're playing Tier 8 tanks in the first place. Now, there is an additional bundle. There's a large one which comes with 30 days of premium and an extra 10 300% free experience boosters. However, I personally wouldn't recommend to go for that one. I'd recommend to go for the medium one instead, unless you need the month of premium, and then it's not a bad deal. Now, firstly, I want to explicitly state whenever I'm doing anything that's sponsored, how the money is involved. I'm not being paid a flat fee to endorse the bundles inside the premium store, but if you choose to purchase any of them, then I will be receiving a percentage share of the purchases. So with the idea in mind that I've tried to create the best possible way to farm credits as quickly as possible, why don't I hopefully try and show you? So first, I'm going to give you a very quick guide as to how to set up your TS5, and let me try and justify why as well. Firstly, take reinforced suspension. You have to take this. It improves your suspension durability and it makes your vehicle better at crossing all terrain types. You lose a bit of hull traverse speed, but you actually don't because of the improved ground resistances. Always, always, always take reinforced suspension. Next, this vehicle has horrendous accuracy, but actually pretty good aim time, so you definitely want to try and improve the horrible accuracy of the tank, and you will sacrifice a little bit of aim time, but it's totally worth it. Next, if you're picking concealment after firing, unless it's on an E25, seriously reconsider what you're doing. Take the view range. This will mean that you can get up to a healthy view range with this vehicle. Next, for the bonus slot, I'm going to be taking the survivability slot on this vehicle. That is because I like to improve the hit points of a tank that already has really good hit points by putting improved hardening. I really wouldn't recommend this vehicle for somebody who wants to take the scouting slot and put coated optics in there. This vehicle is incredibly vulnerable because it doesn't have a turret and it doesn't have a very flexible gun, so you always want to try and pump up the track health so you can keep the gun firing and keep whatever's in front of you in front of you. I'm going to be combining this with a gun rammer and also with a turbo to be able to get into the fight quicker. I do have a second setup on this vehicle where I actually drop the turbo and I use binoculars. And that's for those kind of really long distance maps like Prokhorovka, or maybe even in some ways Malinovka, where you want to set up a line of fire instead. However, trust me, this vehicle is best played at absolutely crunching your opponents. Alright, now that I've showed you how I would set up the TS5, why don't I show you how it actually performs in the combat. So, the TS5, when you load into the battle, it doesn't really matter what you're going to be meeting. It's one of those tanks where you just hold the W key and hopefully be able to farm up at least one tank, and you're going to be able to do so with the crazy DPM that the vehicle has. Although it is definitely a vehicle that will do better on a city map against your equal tiered opponents, and if you can manage to get into those juicy games against lower tiered opponents, oh, it can be absolutely savage. This is my kind of map. Even if I'm attacking, I don't care. Alright, so I clearly don't need the binoculars on this one because I'm not going to sit on the fringes of the fight. I'm going to get stuck in, try and be aggressive and take the fight to the enemy team. Now, of course, any front-loaded tank destroyer wants to keep its opponents right in front of it. And on Ghost Town, it still can be a little bit dodgy with getting shots in from the fringes. My plan of attack is either going to be to try and push along here, or alternatively maybe try and push along here. I think I'm going to start here, and then if necessary, then I can fall back and maybe switch flanks if I feel that there's too much defense on this side. Okay, so I didn't talk about crew skills really for the TS5. So if you've got a completely fresh crew on this tank and you don't have any American tank destroyers, then you probably want to be taking repairs first, then eventually you want to reset repairs on the commander to get 6th sense. Then when you've eventually got yourself 3 skills, 3 skills on your commander and 2 skills on the rest of your crew, you want to be taking brothers-in-arms on all of them, 6th sense on the commander, and then you want to take repairs. Eventually on your commander you want to be taking things like recon and situational awareness so you can still have a little bit of view range for the times where you can't get into close quarters combat all the time. And then on the rest of the crew members, it's taking things like safe stowage, adrenaline rush. You can even have some intuition on this tank. Intuition is quite useful because it does have really good high explosive anti-tank rounds, but they won't really end up making you very many credits. Although, actually, I tell a lie, you can actually end up making quite a lot of credits when you play this vehicle, even if you are firing heat, as long as you're not bouncing the heat. Bouncing the heat is not going to make you credits. Okay, so that Patriot seems to be in a very cheeky position. So why don't we turn and see if we can find the Patriot? Why don't we see if we can say hello to him? Oh, hello. 500 damage? Oh my gosh. This tank's only got 400. That was just a lucky shot. Yeah, I think you're seeing the DPM and instantly up to 900 there. Although in theory, if I didn't get a bingo for my very first shot of the gameplay today, I would have only done 800 there, I guess. But, you know, you take your chances. I could have done 6. I could have only done 300 with the shell. So where's this Panther 2 going? To the garage. Looks like I got shot at probably from over there with a heat round. I don't want to let this Borask be able to get my side. Am I being too aggressive right now? I probably am being too aggressive. Whenever I play this tank, I'm a little bit too cheeky sometimes. But when I am playing a vehicle like this, it's good to be cheeky, especially when they don't have any arty, right? Okay, so I want to try and get to the side. Hope this Type 59 isn't going to be able to get me. Oh, nice play, Borask. You got me good there. Okay, I've got one autoloader to my right, one autoloader to my left. Here I am, stuck trying to deal with this French heavy. Hopefully he won't nail my lower plate repeatedly. He is. Oh, no. He bounced that one, though. Oh, he didn't pen that one, and I pen you. There we go. And that is where this tank is just so bloody broken. All right, so this guy probably thinks, aha, I have him now. I have him now. That's right. What about that? But if I angle like this, angle my lower plate, Borask is actually a good player. Go into him again. I've just got to try and keep the Borask from shooting me while I turn to be able to get this player. Get him. Reload HE. Borask fires a shot. Hopefully I can reload HE for him before he can escape. Unfortunately, that's not to be. Yeah, I mean, what is there to say about the TS5, boys and girls? It's definitely one of the most outrageous tanks for those kind of scenarios. Like, we're just talking absolute insanity with regards to how outrageous this thing can be in those situations. Now, it doesn't always go like that. Don't worry. You're not always in these kind of games where you're just dumping on things at close quarters and then you get to dump on things at long range. But there's a reason why this thing's win ratio is the best of any Tier 8 TD, and that's because it just plays that assault role so well, so darn well, so outrageously well. Yeah, overpowered. I put that in my blurb for the Wargaming store, but I have a funny feeling they might have changed overpowered to brutal instead. I don't know. You'll have to see whether I actually managed to get the Wargaming to talk about the TS5 being overpowered or not, or whether they only said brutal. I think that maybe they only said brutal. Man, if they'd said overpowered, that would have been pretty hilarious. I don't think I quite managed to get that in. Imagine that, 10 years of 10 years of being a content creator, and the first time I worked together with Wargaming on being able to directly benefit from all of my tank reviews or all of my opinions on all of the vehicles, and it would be me trying to sneak in an overpowered term. I think we should honestly just farm up the entire enemy team here. I think it'd be a huge misplay. I'm going to change out to a heat round here, and I'm just going to try and dump it in. Unfortunately, it doesn't catch the enemy tank. Got to watch out with the heat round through the gaps here. Oh, why are they capping? Are they seriously going to cap? Why would they... We could have been able to farm that T-28 and maybe even the ISU-152 there. So there you have it, TS5. What was that, like 3-4 minutes? We managed to get 4,000 damage and 3 kills. I fired a couple of heat rounds, not really too necessary. I don't think there are many, if any, tanks in the game where you could play as stupidly as to drive out in front of 3 autoloaders and a tank destroyer and somehow still be able to get through it on top. Now, I don't think that the players I was playing against were probably the best players that you're ever going to play against. But I guess that's just fortunate for me. So 1,250 base, 4,000 damage, make 124,000 credits profit, although I'd like to clarify that was because of the 40,000 credits we got from one of the missions. So now that we've crushed that game on Ghost Town on my main account, I thought I would jump onto my free-to-play account and play the TS5 here as well. Now, unfortunately, I don't have that beautiful G.I. Joe skin, but for some reason, I do actually have 3 marks of excellence in the TS5 on my free-to-play account, having never used any premium consumables. You'll see that my crew is set up how I would recommend that you have it set up, although arguably I should probably take repairs here instead of recon, as that is a little bit troll. Anyway, let's jump into the battle with the TS5 free-to-play and see what we can manage to get our hands on. Alright, this is an interesting scenario because I'm playing on Lakeville, and Lakeville is a map that usually requires some health and some gun depression to be able to work the valley. I could go and just push my way through the city. I think that should be able to work out for me. But have you noticed how there just aren't any of those juicy heavy tanks on the enemy team? Right now, there seems to be a lot of medium tanks and a lot of tank destroyers. The TS5 is actually a heavy tank counter. I'm just not sure if I can really push the Emil or the Lerva and the Progetto 54 in the valley, so I think I'm going to have to go into the town here. A little bit worried about whether my Basante, who hasn't even connected to the battle, and the Emil are going to be hold there. But at the end of the day, you just got to trust them. Alrighty then, so, yeah, how did I manage to get the TS5 on my free-to-play account, you might be asking? Well, I got this through completing the mission marathon to be able to get it. And boy, was it one of the best marathons that I ever invested my time into. I didn't realize how outrageously overpowered the TS5 would eventually be. And that's because this thing is, for all the reasons that I've talked about already. It's one of those tanks that I always use when everything seems to be going wrong on my free-to-play account and I just want to either make some credits or I just want to be able to hold down my W key and just go after my opponents. And that's really what it comes down to in this tank. You don't need fancy equipment on this thing. You don't need fancy consumables on this vehicle. It's the all-purpose, I don't care, just go in kind of vehicle. Which is why I wanted to pick a tank inside the bundles that would be universal. I wasn't just trying to think of the hardcore elite, the best players. This is the kind of tank that it doesn't matter what kind of a player you are, it's going to be an absolute rock-solid vehicle for everyone. The universal, overpowered tank. Although I don't think I got Wargaming to say it on the homepage. Alrighty then, so the TS5, we're just using the turbo here to be able to get into position as quickly as we can. With a turbo, this thing, it's not slow. It's kind of more like a super heavy speed, you know, like you would have on an E100. A little bit concerned that the enemies are now pushing the valley. I really hope my Basante and my Emil don't suck. What you don't want to do in a TS5 is push a flank that is going to, where the enemies are going to fall back and then be caught out on the other flank. And that might be what's actually happening here. I got a funny feeling that the enemy are going to run away and then camp in the corner, and I won't really have the view range to be able to dig them out from that scenario. I'm really hoping that they've got at least 1 or 2 tanks that are still located here that we're going to be able to catch in close quarters combat. Or maybe it's just not going to be my day. Talk about not be somebody's day. It doesn't look like it's that Progetto's day, as he is getting absolutely ripped apart by the Pantera. There is the Progetto 54. I'm actually going to switch to a gold round here. The gold round will help me to be able to just go right through the front plate on the Progetto 54. And as long as you're penetrating these gold rounds, it doesn't really matter too much. I think maybe I should switch to an AP round here. It does feel a little bit too flush. And there is the new tank, the TVP 100. Stopped and aimed at me? What are you thinking? What are you thinking? Why would you stop and aim in at a TS5? That was stupid of him. Well, yeah, old versus new, new versus old, all of that good stuff. TS5 shutting down the new fangled TVP 100. Good stuff. Okay, let's continue to grind through, see if we can be able to get the Scorpion. Thinking about switching out for an HE shell. What happened there? Did that hit another tank? I'm so confused. Did anyone see where that... Oh, I hit a bull ras! Doesn't look like I actually damaged him, though, unfortunately. And this is where this vehicle at long range is an absolute brute. A brute, I say! Because you've got the armor to just kind of sit there and just shoot at your opponents, and sometimes they don't have the pen to be able to just do the same to you. Alright, I'm going to swing on the left here. This is quite risky what I'm doing, but I'm just going to do it anyway. And when you're playing in the TS5, you often do need to take risks and just not let go of that W key, because if you do let go of that W key, you usually don't get too much later on in the battle. So it looks like we're spotting the RHM. He's managing to fire some heat rounds at us. Wow, oh no, I've lost a few of my hit points. What am I ever going to do? I'm just going to keep driving at my opponents, and I don't think this IS-3A probably understands why the TS5 is so fast. He probably expects that he's going to outpace it and overtake it, but you're not. You're really not going to end up outpacing it and overtaking it. Do I go for the Kampfpanzer on the side? I should probably just shoot the Progetto. I should have probably stopped there. That was a bit of a misplay by me to not stop in that scenario. Looks like the Progetto is thinking about running away. I'm definitely not going to cap. I'm just going to go straight after them. And unfortunately for me, it looks like even though I just didn't ever let go of my W key this entire game, that it just hasn't really worked out for me. And that IS-3 is going to be able to get the final shot in, and my team are going to finish them off. Alright, there you go, TS5. We didn't let go of our W key. We held it down, managed to just pick up 1,700 damage and 800 assistance. 2 fairly quick games. That's what the meta is right now, and that's where having just an absolute club of a tank to be able to get through those quick games is quite nice. However, it is slow, right? Sometimes I do feel like this tank is a little bit too slow for the meta, but when you get such a nice experience coefficient for just holding down that W key, we finished 3rd there. We did hit a blind shot, so we did 2,000 damage. I made 38,000 credits profit, free to play, and I don't think I used any consumables. This thing has always just been the absolute tour de force for me on my free-to-play account. Okay, now, the real test. You've got to see it against 2 sets of tier 8 tanks. Can we make the TS5 also work against this brutal matchup against tier 10s? This is a horrible map for this tank. I've spawned on the worst side possible as well. Kind of worried that the Kranvang, the Foch, and the E4 are probably going to be able to think about going towards the south. In this kind of a situation, I might attack the mid. I think the south will probably work out for me. Yeah, I'm going to go towards the south, and I'm going to try and set up an ambush. But, yeah, full disclosure. This map, on this side, is probably like the least balanced map in the game. And I feel like the team that spawns on the east wins the vast majority of games, because all they have to do is take the dip and take the north, and it is GG, well played. Nevertheless, let's go after him. How funny is it that that T95 only has 140 extra hit points than me? It doesn't look like that T95 is setting their vehicle up with durability, which is fine. They're probably going for gun rammer. Maybe they're going for vents. I'm racing past. Let's try and see if I can figure out whether that T95 is using a turbo or not. Looks like he is. At what speed? He's going about 20, so he's not using a turbo. Yeah, that is a very slow T95. I feel like an incredibly fast tank compared to them. Oh, man. Well, I don't even know what that T95 could be taking. Is he going for gun rammer, vents, and no turbo? No durability device. Now I'm confused. Rotation device? Maybe he's doing a rotation device, or maybe he thinks that Grousers are better than a turbo. I'm getting distracted. Let's focus on what we need to do, and that is to hopefully be able to deal with the Kranvang and the Patriot along this southern flank. Alright, so if the Kranvang just sits there, I'm pretty much almost guaranteed to lose the game. I can't really just rush into a Kranvang. This thing has good armor, but it doesn't really have such good armor that you can just drive into probably the best heavy tank in the game, which is the Kranvang, at least for the current meta. Maybe we can hang back and let them attack. Do you think they'll get bored? Quite often in the TS5, that's actually a legitimate strategy, is to just chill back and hope that they get bored. Man, that T95 only just reaching the front. And it really shows you the difference between a true super heavy TD and something like this as well. And the funny thing is that my DPM is outrageously higher. Okay, well I lost some hit points. It's fine. They lost some hit points too. Cranvong bounces 1. Cranvong bounces 2. He's going to go for my lower plate now. I'm going to track him. Oh, he's got increased track health. I bounced a full mag from the Cranvong. Well, you know everything that I said about this tank of not having the armor to be able to bounce a Cranvong? Well, I guess I'm full of poop. Alright, Mr. T95, I don't understand how you're playing. Are you just gonna chill there? I'm just gonna track him. Okay, he's used his repair kit. The 705 missed. I'm gonna tell the T95 that I'm gonna help him. There's a Cranvong back there. I've got to watch out for it. T95's doing a good job. 705A's pushing through. He's bounced the Cranvong twice. He's managed to get the E4. Maybe I can actually get an HE shell into the top of this E4. I could probably put an HE shell anywhere. Or he could just ram him to death. That always works as well. Alright, I'll fire an HE shell on the move. We've got a bit of a blockade going on here. Hopefully I can manage to get into position to farm up this Cranvong, or maybe this T30. And I got your back, mate, don't worry. There we go. Oh. Where did that come from? The Basante ninja'd it from behind. Okay, well, yeah, alright. Let's see if we can just hold down our W key before this game is going to end. Man, the games in this matchmaker over the last week have just been absolutely horrendous. At least the T30's fairly healthy. There's probably going to be a bunch of tanks towards my right as well, so I've probably got to be a little bit careful here, otherwise I'm going to get absolutely dumped on, to say the least. Okay, here we go. Centurion caught out. Gotcha, right in the engine. S1 manages to hit me. He's also spotted out now. I'm going to get this building between me and the S1, or maybe not. Maybe I'll just dump him there. I bounce, but I bounce him. And the thing is, mate, is that my DPM is like nearly so much better than yours. So we can manage to finish you off. Is that T30 about to shoot me in the butt? Please, T30, have mercy. Please, T30, have mercy. Yeah, I don't think just asking him to have mercy is really going to help. Oh, is that a Foch? Oh no! And he's using high explosive anti-tank rounds as well. Oh well, I have to admit, I was a little bit greedy. I was just trying to get around and try to mop up this game as quickly as I could because I thought that it was just going to be over. And well played to the Foch, 395mm of high explosive anti-tank rounds. Enter me there. Nevertheless, 1,700 damage and 600 assistance. It's not the kind of game that you're going to be writing home to tell your mum about, but as we're going to see in the post-game stats, it's still very economical even without a premium account and free to play. And it looks like once again it was as easy as 1, 2, 3. We finished second on experience in the TS5. We managed to finish mid-table on damage, but considering what kind of a support tank we were, we blocked 1,700 damage to add to our 1,700 damage dealt. And we make 22,000 credits profit. Definitely not the greatest. I fired, I think, a heat round or two in this game. Actually, no, I didn't. I just fired loads of AP shells, just willy-nilly all over the place. But hopefully this gives you an idea that even though this tank, it doesn't look fancy, it's still just absolutely relentless and can play however it wants, irrelevant of the matchup, which is why I picked it to be able to go in the bundles. And so that was the TS5 in all of its glory, both on my pay to win and also my free to play account. If you want to get one yourself, then you can for the next couple of weeks on the European store and also on the North American store. I'll put some links to the small bundle and the medium bundle for both the EU and NA store down in the description down below, or you can just go and search for it in the premium store yourself. Now I want to clarify, don't spend money just because it's my bundle. Please don't. Please only get these vehicles if you wanted them. And I hope that you feel I've been about as efficient as possible with trying to get you the most bang for your buck, especially with the 10 hours of credit boosters. I'd also like to clarify that one of the reasons why I wanted to participate in this is I think it's a real good opportunity in the future that maybe if Wargaming want to try and work with the community contributors on new premium releases. Anyway, that's it for today, ladies and gents. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. And if you hated it, give it a thumbs down. And let me know what you think about the idea of creator bundles in the comments down below. Do you think this is just outrageous and I've made a huge mistake? Or do you think it's cool that you can be able to get things that you usually couldn't be able to purchase inside the game while also supporting my content? And as always, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic and hopefully I'll see you soon.